Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to your go-to source for the most electrifying insights in the world of sports. Are you tired of the same old storylines? Are you fed up with teams making the same mistakes year after agonizing year? Well, buckle up, because tonight, we're diving headfirst into a controversy that could redefine a franchise, a decision that could make or break the Toronto Maple Leafs for years to come. We're talking about Mitch Marner, an expiring contract, and a cap situation that's tighter than a freshly taped hockey stick. So, what's it going to be, Leafs Nation? Another chapter in the book of almost, or a bold new beginning? Let's find out. Now, here's the burning question on everyone's mind. Why shouldn't the Toronto Maple Leafs re-sign Mitch Marner? Sounds crazy, right? A superstar talent, a fan favorite, a cornerstone of the core four. But as we dissect this, you'll see it's less about his talent and more about the brutal realities of the salary cap and the ruthless pursuit of a Stanley Cup. We're on the cusp of the 2025 offseason, a period that promises to be a veritable minefield for general managers. With a salary cap that's set to explode, the old adage from Brian Burke, the biggest mistakes get made on July 1st, will likely ring truer than ever before. Why? Because the pool of high-level free agents is shockingly shallow. Think about it. Mitch Marner stands head and shoulders above the rest, followed by a significant drop-off to names like Matt Duchene, Sam Bennett, John Tavares, Brock Boeser, and Aaron Ekblad. It's a stark, almost depressing contrast to what's lurking just around the corner in July 2026. Can you imagine? Connor McDavid, Kirill Kaprizov, Jack Eichel, Artemi Panarin, and Kyle Connor, and John Carlson potentially all available. While some, if not all, will likely extend with their current clubs, the sheer prospect of that talent pool a year from now should make every GM with a pen in hand think twice, maybe even three times before slapping down a bloated contract this July. The scarcity of top-tier talent in 2025 means one thing, and one thing only: overpayments are not just likely, they're practically guaranteed. And let me tell you, to hoist that coveted Stanley Cup, teams need players who overperform their contracts, not the other way around. Every inefficient contract is a roadblock, a barrier to building a truly dominant team. Yes, I hear you, the tax-free states have an advantage. We all know that. But many of the top players, the real difference makers, overperform even the tax-free discount. Take Sam Reinhart, for instance. He likely would have commanded a $10 million AAV on the open market. Yet, he signed for $8.625 million to stay with the Florida Panthers. My model, and believe me, this model doesn't lie, values Reinhart closer to $12.6 million. That means the Panthers are getting an extra $2.6 million in value on top of the tax discount. Think about that for a second. Similar situations are unfolding with Brandon Hagel, Nikita Kucherov, Thomas Harley, and Shea Theodore. These aren't just good players, they're smart investments. And it's not just tax-free states. Folks, elite players in non-tax-free states are also delivering massive bang for their buck. Cale Makar, Adam Fox, Seth Jarvis, Nico Hischier, all overperforming their contracts. But perhaps the most glaring examples are in Edmonton, where Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Evan Bouchard, and Zach Hyman are significantly overperforming their contract values. Draisaitl's colossal contract, when it kicks in, is still expected to be efficient. And Evan Bouchard? Any contract with an AAV below $9.5 million for him would be considered efficient. That's how you win, people. That's how you build a dynasty. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the reason we're even having this conversation. Mitch Marner. Reports suggest he's looking for a cool $14 million per year. $14 million. An efficient contract for Marner, according to the numbers, would be closer to $12 million. $2 million, you say? What's the big deal? Well, in a cap-strapped league, that's the difference between a contender and a team stuck in neutral. And then there's Sam Bennett, another player represented by Darren Ferris, rumored to be seeking around $9 million AV. $9 million for a player whose career high is 51 points? That would put him on par with an elite second-line center, while he's producing like a low-end second-liner or high-end third-liner. While I acknowledge the valid arguments for Marner's regular season value and Bennett's playoff grit, any team with legitimate Stanley Cup aspirations simply cannot afford to pay these players 10% above their true value. It's financial suicide. Given Toronto's current cap structure, extending Marner for that kind of money is a recipe for long-term mediocrity. It would be prohibitive, a chokehold on their ability to balance the lineup. If Marner truly wants to play on a contending team and win, contract efficiency isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a non-negotiable. If we apply the same efficiency of the upcoming Draisaitl contract, a comparable Marner's camp is reportedly using anything more than $12 million would cripple a team's ability to contend. And that's assuming Marner performs to Draisaitl's level in the playoffs, which, let's be honest, has yet to happen. For Marner to have a truly valuable contract, akin to the likes of Reinhart, Kucherov, and Kaprizov, he'd need to sign for around $10 million AV. Anything more is a luxury the Leafs simply cannot afford. It's never been clearer. A major shakeup is needed in Toronto. While there have been countless Knicks trades that could have allowed Toronto to make significant changes over the past few years, the cold, hard reality is that a superstar-caliber player will likely be lost for nothing. But here's the crucial part. Toronto absolutely cannot afford to extend Marner on an inefficient contract, especially when his playoff performances are under the microscope. So, what should they do instead? With the contracts for Marner and John Tavares expiring, the Leafs suddenly find themselves with a significant amount of cap space to maneuver. They can't replace Marner's individual value with one player, no. But they can redistribute that wealth throughout the entire lineup, creating a more balanced, more dangerous team. Tavares, I believe, is likely to extend in Toronto, and the rumored AAV? Around $5 million. Now that, my friends, is an efficient contract for a middle six center, especially one who put up 38 goals in 2024-25. The Leafs should also resist the urge to do a bridge deal for restricted free agent Matthew Knies. Instead, they should go for a long-term deal in the neighborhood of $8.5 million AV. Think about it. Combined, that costs less than Marner's ask, and the combined value of Knies and Tavares would actually outweigh the value of Marner. It's simple math, and it adds up to a stronger team. Furthermore, Toronto should expect Easton Cowan to contribute in a middle six role on his entry-level contract next season. And it is almost imperative that Toronto GM Brad Treliving trades two of David Kampf, Kaye Jarnkrok, Max Domi, and Nick Robertson. The cap space freed up by these moves could then be strategically used to sign players like Matt Duchene, Brad Marchand, or Pius Suter, all of whom would provide significantly more value in elevated roles. This set of restructures would allow Toronto to finally have three productive lines, a luxury they haven't consistently enjoyed. Remember the Panthers' third line in their series lost to the Leafs? They were the difference makers. And why? Because efficient contracts at the top of Florida's roster allowed for a more balanced approach to the lineup. It's not rocket science, it's smart management. Speaking of the Panthers, there are rumblings that the Leafs have interest in Sam Bennett. And while it's easy to understand why, let's take a trip down memory lane. Remember the player Bennett was before Florida? In Treliving's prior role as Flames GM, he actually traded Bennett out of Calgary for spare parts because he couldn't find his game. Bennett is a perfect fit in Florida, no doubt about it. But much of his value comes from the extracurricular activities, the agitation, the grit, as opposed to pure offensive production. And if those extracurricular activities were to be more heavily punished, well, their value would diminish significantly, wouldn't they? Consider this. Tavares notched 38 goals and 74 points this season and is likely to sign for around $5 million. Bennett, meanwhile, notched a career high of 51 points this season. While Bennett is younger, signing him to a contract worth 1.5 times Tavares until he reaches Tavares' age, having produced just 0.68 points per game in Florida and a mere 0.48 points per game over his career, would be an unmitigated disaster. It would be catastrophic for the Leafs' long-term financial health and their Stanley Cup aspirations. Florida is absolutely right to not want to pay more than $7 million per year for Bennett, which, by the way, would already be slightly bloated. Given Florida's sustained success over the past few years, the Maple Leafs would be incredibly wise to follow those signals. A $7.5 million AAV for Bennett is inefficient, but perhaps manageable if the Leafs truly believe his extracurriculars won't draw more attention in a market where the hockey team is first, second, and third in coverage. But should Bennett's camp push for anything more, the Leafs would be far better off looking elsewhere. Targeting Pius Suter or Matt Duchene on July 1st and orchestrating a trade for Mason Marchment with Dallas would be a theoretical example of a far more balanced and sensible approach. Regardless of which specific players are signed or added in trade, the Maple Leafs need to do one thing, and one thing only: balance their forward depth and refrain from signing inefficient contracts. There are simply too many on the books right now, and the Leafs would do well to extricate themselves from a couple of them. The best teams don't contend because of one or two superstar players. That's true even of the Oilers, though having McDavid and Draisaitl certainly helps. Instead, the best teams contend year after year because their best players consistently overperform their contracts, and the depth in the lineup provides quality minutes due to management being able to acquire better players that provide balance. Think of Florida's third line or Edmonton's depth that includes Corey Perry, Jake Wallman, and Connor Brown. Because of the efficient contracts for Roope Hintz, Thomas Harley, and Matt Duchene, Dallas was able to acquire a superstar in Mikko Rantanen. That's how you win. That's how you build a dynasty. Toronto needs to be ruthless, cold, calculating. The way the Tampa Bay Lightning operated during their consecutive Stanley Cup runs. The way the Vegas Golden Knights have been for their entire existence. If a player isn't willing to sign for what the team needs to be successful, then they are not going to be a Leaf. Significant trade protection for anyone outside the top 6 forwards or top 4 defensemen needs to be a thing of the past. 8 or 10 team no-trade clauses for third-line players is manageable, but the days of giving bottom-pair defenders and the likes of David Kampf, Kaje Jarnkrok, and Ryan Reeves any level of trade protection must end. They cannot, and I repeat, cannot handicap their ability to make moves by providing trade protection to players who are easily replaceable every summer. For the Leafs to truly win, to finally break this agonizing Stanley Cup drought, they need to stay laser-focused in their pursuit of contract efficiency. And yes, that likely means losing pure talent in the short term. But it's a necessary sacrifice to create a more balanced, long-term approach, an approach that has worked so well for other clubs. The choice is clear, Leafs Nation. Will they finally choose to be ruthless, or will they continue down the path of well-intentioned, but ultimately flawed generosity? Only time will tell. And that's our exclusive report for tonight. What are your thoughts on the Mitch Marner situation? Should the Leafs re-sign him or let him walk? Do you agree with our assessment of contract efficiency? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And if you enjoyed this in-depth analysis, please smash that like button, subscribe to our channel for more exclusive content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Until next time, stay passionate, stay informed, and keep the hockey conversation alive.